Welcome back, watch fans. Today we're talking about making money with neo-vintage watches. That's right, watches like this Audemars Piguet, the Royal Oak, the Day Date, Moon Phase, also known as the Owl. This is a late 90s model, which has basically tripled in value since the time I purchased it a couple years back. And I'm going to share with you in this video exactly how you can do the same. Now, before we get into it, make sure you click the like and subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, and of course, you do want to get our free weekly newsletter so you can learn what are the latest trends and the prices that you should be paying for vintage, neo-vintage, and of course modern watches. Rolex, Patek, Philippe, Audemars Piguet, all that stuff. How do you get that free newsletter? Click the link in the video description below and it'll come to your inbox twice a week. Now, let's talk about the neo-vintage market, why it is a good bet. So, here's a couple of things I like about neo-vintage. Look, I'm a value investor, okay? I am a value investor. When I look at a watch, the first thing is, yes, I'm looking for, a watch. Obviously, it's got to be, something that is beautiful, it's functional, whatever it is. At the same time, I don't want to lose money. I hate to lose money. I want to make money, okay? When I buy that watch, I want to buy that watch and know that it'll retain value and most likely increase in value. Now, every watch I have ever bought over the last, look, I'm in this, I don't know, over 25 years. Every watch I've ever bought has increased in value. And I've sold it for more money when I sold it, right? And the reason is, if I look back, it's because I was always buying, let's call it used or neo-vintage watches. So the way it works is this. Now again, the market is normalizing. Forget the bubble that we've had in the last couple of years. This was an outlier event. Everything is going back to normal. And traditionally, when a new watch came out, the price would drop over the next couple of years. Actually, traditionally, you were able to buy Rolex, especially, gold Rolex, 25-30% off, right? And by the way, those days are coming back. It's going to be 20-25% off for all precious metal watches of Rolex. Even steel models are going to sell. Again, the fact, I've covered it in videos. Again, this is not one of those videos where, I'm telling you the sky is falling. That's not true at all. The watch market is very active. There's constant buying, selling going on. But things are changing, and they are going back, so more or less to the normality. So here's what happens. Whether it's Rolex, JLC, and I'll use JLC, Jaeger-LeCoultre, as an example. Vacheron, all those guys, especially. Traditionally, a new watch comes out within a couple of years. The price normally would be dropping by, 25%, 30%. Why does that happen? Well, look, a lot of watch collectors, they buy a watch, especially if you're talking about a high-end watch, something, 10, 20, 30, 50 grand. Those people, it's like cars, right? They have disposable income. They get tired. They want the new thing. Everybody wants the new thing. Everybody wants what they can't have. Everybody loves novelty. So they buy that watch. They see something else, a shinier object, and they sell what they have. And usually they'll be taking a 25, 30% loss, a haircut, when they sold it. And at the same time, you got more and more supply coming into the market. Again, people want the new thing, right? So traditionally prices would drop. And what happens is that especially after about 5, 7, 10 years, people kind of, I think the sweet spot on the market is about 10 years after a watch comes out. The value bottoms out. It bottoms out. It's sort of like a car. When a car depreciates, let's talk about, for example, Bentley, right? A Bentley, might sell for, $250,000 new. Let's go back, 10 years, right? But after 5 years, the value is down by, 50%. After 10 years, the thing is trading at, 20 cents on the dollar, right? And look, if the car is serviced well, if everything is kept up to date, that's the price when you can get into that car, 20 cents on the dollar or maybe even less, and you're not going to lose money, right? When you buy that car, you're not going to lose money. Yeah, I know everybody's saying, oh yeah, but the service cost. I can tell you from experience, historically, the new modern Bentleys are actually, again, if you just stay on top of the service, they are very, very reliable. They don't have any issues. But again, this is not a car video, but you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Whether you're talking about Bentley, Mercedes, whatever it is. Well, actually, I shouldn't say Mercedes, because those could be a little pricey to repair. More than Bentley, actually, believe it or not. But you guys understand where I'm going with this, right? So you want to buy the car at the bottom of the depreciation curve. Same thing with watches. You're buying that watch at the bottom of that depreciation curve, because again, people, the trends in fashion and all that stuff. Like this watch came out in the 90s, and the two-tone thing, this two-tone, the smaller sizes, this is again 36 millimeter. That stuff became very, very unfashionable in the 2000, the early, between the year, let's say 2001 and 2015. Okay, so about a 10-year, 15-year period where people saw two-tone as a dated thing. And by the way, me too, right? I was on that boat. I thought two-tone was very tacky. I would never have wanted to get a two-tone watch up until about 5 years ago. I realized, wow, you know what? This is the proper look. This is kind of that vintage look, that 70s look, which is really what Gerald Genta was all about, the two-tone 70s, 80s vibe. Again, from my experience, sort of like, dealing with in the art market, I know that things go in cycles, and, you want to get into these cycles before they start getting hyped up again. Because again, people go back, right? It's like fashion. Everybody goes back to that, for example, you see kids today, they're wearing these heavy metal concert t-shirts from the 80s, like, I don't know, Motley Crue or Megadeth, from some concert in 1985, and the kids who were wearing it, they're like 15. This is basically, this is stuff from like 30 years before they were born, and they don't even know these bands. They don't know anything about this stuff. They're just wearing it because, it looks retro. It's a cool thing. They don't know what these things are. They don't know what Pac-Man is. They don't know any of these references that they wear on these t-shirts. But you guys can see where I'm going, right? These things go in and out of cycles. Now, by the way, I would never have thought in a million years that, vintage t-shirts, I hate to use the word vintage, it's basically used t-shirts, would one day be collectible, but believe it or not, they are. So same thing with watches. Now, again, what really helps you out, where you have the guaranteed upside, is because of labor inflation. That's right, labor inflation, which is a very real thing. What's happening is, if you guys have noticed, the Swiss manufacturers are increasing prices for their new models by, about 7% a year. That's right, 7%. By the way, that's a lot of money, because especially it compounds. So you compound 7% after a period of 5 years, 7% on top of 7% on top of 7%. All of a sudden, 5 years later, and now that $10,000 watch, because of that 7% compounding, is now selling for what is it, 15 grand or whatever, or more, right? I don't have a calculator. Again, for a comparable new model. So the new models are now 15 grand, and the 5-year-old model is basically selling for, traditionally would be selling for 10. And what happens again is, people, they can figure it out. They realize that, hey, why should I buy this new watch for 15 grand and also I got to deal with all the nonsense, where I can just get one for 10 grand or even 9 grand used, right? So that's what they're doing. And as that goes on, all of a sudden, those prices tick up because there's more demand for those. And again, because if that watch, again, you do that 7% compounding, 10 years later, that $10,000 watch is selling for 20 grand. The new watch is 20 grand equivalent. So the old one, it's not going to be 10 grand. It's going to be lifted. It's going to be lifted by, again, people doing that comparison trade where, they want to get the same watch, they just want to, get it cheaper, which can you blame them? So that's basically what lifts the values of neo-vintage watches. Now, When we talk about neo-vintage, specifically, we're talking about watches that are, made in the last 20 years. So that's, that vintage, neo-vintage thing is like, what it's one of those words that keeps getting redefined. I would say neo-vintage means stuff made in the last 20 years, whereas vintage would be like 30 years plus. Okay, so anything made past the year, 2000, in the year, let's say 1990s, 2000, early 2000s, that's neo-vintage. Anything from the 80s, I would say, is vintage. As of today, and again, this is the year 2024 when I'm making this video, so yeah, you guys, if you're watching this 20 years from now, I don't know, I guess you can do the math. But anyway, look, that's the bottom line. Again, make sure that if you want to be smart, you want to be a smart collector, get our free weekly newsletter. Click the link in the video description below to get that newsletter where we talk about the latest collector trends, the prices, market reports from the auctions, all that good stuff on Audemars Piguet, Rolex, Patek, Philippe, Universal Genève even. That's right, Universal Genève, UG, Vacheron Constantin, some other interesting brands, independents as well. Again, click the link in the video description below. It's absolutely free. See you in the next one.